Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 588 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Lashawn Merritt. We talked about winning a gold medal and becoming a public speaker. Stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We have Fast Man over here, Lashawn Merritt. I'm really excited to have this guy on. Gold medal winner. We'll just start with that. Chiropractic has been in this man's career throughout his professional career as a sprinter. I'm really excited to talk about his career and how chiropractic has had an impact on him. We're going to talk about from becoming a signed athlete by Nike at 18 years old. We're going to talk about his journey around and his next step in this world is becoming a professional speaker. So if you guys are looking for somebody to keynote any of your organizations, international chiropractic organizations, state associations, anything of that nature, reach out to Lashawn and let him support you with his message. And then we will ask him to tell his story about how chiropractic interacted with his professional career. But before we do that, I let everyone know our big why. Why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. That's so important to what we do with chiropractic. All those chiropractors out there that are speaking loud and proud about their profession, kudos to you guys. Thank you. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom, and chiropractic plays a huge role in that. So if you do not see a chiropractor and you're watching Lashawn today, listen to what he has to say about how chiropractic can have a positive impact on your life. And he was under Dr. Dave Pascal's care and was introduced to quantum neurology. So really excited to share his story. And then more philosophical with chiropractic, we do protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, pause the interview and go find out what BJ Palmer's last words were. You're going to know more about chiropractic than you previously did, I guarantee you. And then we support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman the spiritual. And with that, Lashawn Merritt, episode 588, Chiro Hustle. Welcome.
Thank you, James. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah, like these kinds of shows really matter for niche markets. And when you have something that matters, like in the professional speaking world, like, you really want to go out there and inspire people, like connecting with different audiences is going to be something that gives you momentum moving forward. So thank you for being a guest on Chiropractic's #1 podcast.
Yes, sir.
So jumping right into this, tell how you first were introduced to chiropractic and how the profession influenced your 17-year professional career.
All right. So I was introduced to chiropractic in high school. I always been an athlete. So the coach took me a couple of times in high school because of football and all these sports. But it wasn't until I really turned pro. Like I turned pro in 2005, 2006. I met Dave Pascal and we started doing quantum neurology with this laser light. People thought he was crazy. I remember I walked up to him one time and I was feeling a little imbalanced. Felt a couple different things too. Went out, moved around, and I came back to him. He adjusted me, went out, didn't feel it anymore. He had me hooked. From that day, he had me hooked. So he traveled with me all over the world. I travel uh, 13 out of 16 competitions a year are either in Asia or Europe. I'm taking 14-hour flights. I'm laying on beds. I'm 6'3". I'm not a small guy. So I'm laying on these small beds and they're paying me to show up to do my best. So they're paying this body of mine, almost like a Formula One car, to be in tip-top shape. So I knew how important chiropractic care was, with the balance of the body, the force application, just keeping everything aligned. And we did 17 years, couple Olympic games, couple world championships, and Dave Pascal was there with me the whole way. There's been times where I didn't have a chiropractor and things didn't go so well, but we can talk about that later.
Well, I think that just the achievements alone, let's retrace back a little bit to when you first started taking running serious and you told me about this meet that you were at, and then you get this phone call from Nike.
Yep, I was a freshman in college. I ran at an invitational in Arkansas, meet in Arkansas. I was the only collegiate in the meet, in the competition. And I won. I ran the second fastest time ever in history. Nike called me about a month and a half later and said, "Look, man, you just beat everybody we paid to run this event. So we're going to pay you to give up your college eligibility, but we'll also pay for whatever college you wanted to go to." So I felt like it was a win-win for me. At 18 years old, I became a professional in the sport of track and field, an adult really quick, and I had to live it. I was in it.
That's a lot. And being a career athlete, um, tell us about what it was like when you weren't getting chiropractic care.
I can remember a meet in 2012. This was Olympic year, London Games. I had an undefeated season. I had won Olympic trials and everything, and I was in Monte Carlo 3 weeks before the games, and I felt off a little bit. I felt off. I remember it was a long flight, and I got there. I was handling the race well, and I got on the second curve and pulled a hamstring. Pulled a hamstring. I was undefeated. I waited 4 years to run, and I wanted to be the second person in history to go back to back in the 400 meters and win gold. And I got there and pulled a hamstring, and I felt my body imbalanced before I took off, but I was there to handle business. And it was what it was. I got to London and couldn't compete in the games. And ever since then, I made sure Dr. Pascal was with me. The years after that, I was #1 in the world the 2 years after that. But that was a big lesson for me. And I knew it, I could feel it, and I ran, and things happen. But I'm grateful.
Yeah, we learned through it, right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I think is really inspiring about you is you kept on honing your skills and getting your craft down. But that wasn't just on your own. Earlier, I noticed that someone was helping you set up your lights, and I go, a lot of the guys that go and hit podiums,
Mhm.
like it's not just them, it's the grandparents that drive them to practice.
Absolutely.
It's the people that help them with their endorsements. It's the people that make sure that they're getting on the airplanes and making sure that they're getting their food and making sure that they're getting their chiropractic. Like there's a lot that goes into like the personal development behind it. And I know one of the things you said that like set you apart, which you want to maybe impress upon the like, future people that might listen to this, like kids and whatnot, like it was how you built your network of support.
Absolutely.
Talk a
Absolutely.
little bit about like what that did for you and helping with your development.
It started when I was younger. I was fortunate enough to have great parents who always told me just go out and have fun with whatever I did. With whatever I did. Neither one of my parents were athletes, so it wasn't that stress in the home to be a great athlete. It was just to have fun and do what I love to do. My mentor when I was younger happened to be my baseball and football coach, who took me to his house. We would say grace together. He taught me the manner.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
he taught me hard work. He taught me respect. He taught me how important character was. And as I grew through sport and just through life, I realized the support I would get from people because of my character. They could see something in me that you don't necessarily see in yourself all the time, but they saw this light, and I stayed on track. And because of having good character, good manners, and being coachable and everything, I developed this amazing team outside of the home. You know, it was a line, and they grew and gravitated to me. So through my success through high school, I kept a great team. When I became pro, it was still about Lashawn Merritt when it was time to line up, but I knew it was all about the preparation, and I didn't prepare on my own. I had my chiropractor, I had my agent, I had my massage therapist, my strength coach, my track coach, spiritual coach. I had all these people around me speaking light and positivity in me, and I was sacrificing a lot of things, but I was still happy, and that core around me kept me going higher and higher. It was that core base and that foundation of character.
So back to London. How did you recover from that hamstring injury?
Oh man, London was tough. London was tough. I was really, like I said, I was on that year. I was doing well. I had beat everybody. It was an undefeated season, and right after Monte Carlo, I went straight to hyperbaric chambers.
Nice.
I went straight to hyperbaric chamber. I was in London.
I do one weekly for an hour.
I love it, man. I love the hyper, and we were going deep. We were deep sea diving in a big hyperbaric chamber. So it was the hyperbaric chamber, 4 or 5 hours a day, mixed with quantum neurology and getting adjusted and getting great sleep.
Amen.
Then when I got
Recovery, baby.
recovered, then when I got there, I wasn't able to compete in the first round because the nerve had been disrupted. So I took that. I didn't stay around London. I know, even though I wanted to, there was a lot going on. I actually hopped right on a plane and flew back home and started my recovery straight after. People say, man, you should have stayed and we could have this. And I had bigger fish to fry. You know, in that next year, which was 2013, I became world champion again.
Well, see, that's the storyline. How does a champion come back? And that's the head game. A lot of times I know because guys will go through and get a surgery in the NFL to a knee and they never trust their body again. How did you gain trust back with your body once you got back to the top level?
That's a good question. The preparation and the recovery was intense. I actually went to Dallas. I was training at MJP. Michael Johnson, he was the former world record holder in the 400, has had this facility where I could get treatment and I could work out and I could get my diet and everything there at once. So I just sacrificed the time, went there and dove in just like I do everything else. I kept my body aligned. I was intentional with things I did. I stayed prayed up. I knew it wasn't going to be a thing where it was an overnight turnaround. It was going to take time. I'm no stranger to delayed gratification. You know, in the sport, we start training in November, but we don't compete until like May. In the sport, the people that really know about the sport think it's Olympic Games. They think I compete every 4 years. So I've had 4-year spans of just the delayed gratification. So I knew that the body had a way of healing itself, and it was just going to take time. And I just needed to do everything I needed to do within that. Like I said, which was keeping the scar tissue down, keeping my body aligned, and overall just keeping a positive mindset on things.
Yeah, I think what I've learned over this conversation with you is we got to take it from pain to brain. Like, let's not get to the pain cycle, but if we get to that cycle, how can we recover as fast as possible to where the brain reconnects with not being depressed?
Right.
And I know a lot of times, I've been an athlete my whole life too. And if you hurt yourself or you get something going on that ain't like it
Yeah.
isn't what you want,
Get
and you
depressed.
and it has an impact on how motivated you are,
It does.
how engaged you are. Like, and it's great that you had a team around you and you went right to work. So I think
Absolutely.
that that's a huge step for people to listen to say, look, um, even if that you're at the top of your game, like a chiropractor, say you're seeing 400 a week and you're taking care of your community, and all of a sudden you get a rotator cuff,
Mhm.
like, rehab back, come back stronger, come back better, help more people, become a better servant, and find ways to succeed through it. So I think that's really important for people to hear, specifically the chiropractic world, because there are nagging injuries to chiropractors, after 20 years of practice or 10 years of practice. And it's important for people to know that, like, they are professional athletes too.
Mhm.
They're in it all day. they're
Absolutely.
they're taking care of people. So um I like this, man. I like where this conversation's going.
I appreciate
And you really want to become a speaker and network greater and become somebody that can share your experiences through your professional speaking.
it.
Um, what's the ideal target groups for you to speak to?
Well, I taught the kids all my life to motivate kids because I saw myself as one of those kids, and to just come in and bring great character whenever I talk to kids. My mom's in the school system. I have 6 nieces and nephews, and I understand that they're the future of our nation. So I've always loved instilling positivity and learning how to study and just manners and the yes ma'ams and yes sirs, and the hard work pays off, all those type things to the next generation, the kids of the world. But I also feel like because the sport was an individual sport, and I am an athlete, I'm competitive, but I took it an approach where it's just about being my best self. Everybody is not meant to be the best in the world, but I feel like if you approach things as being your best self in a positive light, you can be better at whatever you do. Having a routine, um, holding yourself accountable. And when I think about this group of people, I think about the world, corporate, I think about teams, I think about businesses. So I'm open to speak to anybody. I feel like I have something to give. I feel like I can change lives. I'm comfortable with it. And I feel like the story in itself has a lot of gems in it where I handle things in a way that's not so common these days. Just the ability to focus,
Yeah,
is not as common as it should be.
I love it because you gotta stick to the basics.
Mhm,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Please, thank you. You're welcome. Those
mhm,
things. And make that your bedrock, make that your foundation. And I think character does matter, and I think that a lot of times those are things that are missed
right,
with the heroes of our nation and the heroes of our culture. And I think that we do need to go back to the basics again, and we need to go back to um, respect for each other and kindness and courtesy and things of that nature. So it is cool that you can be a mentor to people, and it doesn't matter what walk of life they're coming from. If
right,
they're CEOs, hey, you can learn from Lashawn. Hey, you're a professional team. Hey,
right,
Lashawn's going to come in and halftime you,
right.
you know,
Because the
whatever it
sport,
might be.
the sport demands an inner voice, a positive inner voice, especially to be able to have a 17-year career and be in the top 3 in the world throughout majority of those years, and being in training and being at the track, and you have 30 seconds before you have to get up and put the same 200 meters in. You're doing interval work, and there's nobody there to pat you on the back or tell you you need to get up and how much energy to put in. There's this inner voice that's needed, this positive inner voice, that people need in life, and I live this, I've dreamed it, and I've achieved and executed on the highest level. and
No,
there's something in that I can share.
I love it. I love it so much. And I know that this is going to inspire, you said that you want to connect with people and share hope. And if you could just change one life, that would be important to you.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a huge takeaway for people, even if you are Olympic gold, or a guy that runs a podcast for a living that loves chiropractic. Like, if I could just change one person's life with this show, maybe it's through your story that somebody says, wow, I need to go find a chiropractor just because, I don't feel connected, or something ain't right, or I feel like I need to recover from something.
Right.
Like, that's the power of the story. And I
And
think
chiropractic care let me be able to clearly send the signal from my brain to my body, especially when it was time to really execute at an Olympic game or a world championship. I had to connect it daily because I was working daily with intention. But when it was time to really throw down and execute on the highest stage, and my mind to be clear and my body to be free, the chiropractic care and the quantum neurology allowed the nervous system to work and fire exactly like I needed it to.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
See, that's a beautiful thing, and that's what people need to hear. I think everybody that has kids out there, go get your kids checked by a chiropractor.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there that has an aspiring student to become an athlete, get their spines checked by a chiropractor, not just the scoliosis checks at school. Like, take them to an actual chiropractor, get them an x-ray, get them a proper exam, and see what we can do to help develop them into the next Olympic sprinter.
Yes, sir. I like it. I love it.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
you were in a movie that I watched recently. It was released, I think, a year or so now, called The Aligned Athlete. It was a movie about Olympic gold medalists, and it was about like people that got to the top of their careers, and chiropractic had a profound influence on their careers. So what was it like to be a part of that?
That was amazing. I was told the backstory behind it, and how it was frowned upon so long, and how it's taken so long for chiropractors to get respect in this field, right? Because of the bone cracking and the sounds and everything, and people not understanding the actual care. And to be a part of that video, it was important for me to let the world know 17 years at the top with all the traveling, it's not a contact sport, but in the sport of track and field, we say it is a kind of a contact sport because of the amount of force we're applying to the ground daily, the stress level daily. So to be a part of something where I promote chiropractic care, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was great people, great director. I did a seminar before where I talked about that, about the Aligned Athlete, and I feel like it's important. I just feel like it's important. Out of all the things I did throughout my career, I trained hard. Yeah, I trained hard. I was coachable. Yeah, I got my massage. I did my strength training, but without my alignment, it's like everything would have been off. Like, I don't know how people don't get chiropractic care who are top athletes. It becomes like that.
So if you go back in 17 years ago, is there anything that you would have done different?
As far as my body wise,
As far as your
let me think.
career, as far as your body, like, would you made any decisions differently knowing that you're, what, 37 now?
Right.
Is there anything that you would have changed?
I was fortunate enough to have great people around me. I had the same agent my whole career. I didn't switch coaches a lot. I didn't have the stress, like I said, from home. But I would have ran the race with a little bit more confidence, right? And I only say that because there was a part of the race where I was thinking too much. And had I really pushed through that level of thinking too much, I think my times would have been better and I probably would have broke the world record. But my focus wasn't world record. My focus was being number one in the world, getting better, staying healthy so that I can compete and feed my family. And I was in something that I wasn't going to be able to do all my life. So let's just maximize it, do it as long as I can. With longevity, I know I have to learn as much and keep my body in the best health as possible. But I would have attacked the world record. I would have attacked the world record. I would have put myself out there more and just went for it. I never did that.
No, I mean, it's really, it's important for people to hear these stories, man. I think that that's the part where, we never get to know the person behind the podium.
Right.
We never get to hear the stories from somebody that does it for the love of the sport. And I think that that's really cool. And, as I got a chance to interview 1,300 chiropractors in 6.5 years, sometimes I get a chance to interview somebody that's not a chiropractor and we can talk about things like this. So, let's talk about your mentors. Who did you look up to when you were a kid, and like, who helped you develop professionally as when you became pro?
So when I was younger, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And I loved baseball. My mentor was my baseball coach. His niece married Bruce Smith, Hall of Famer, is from my area, NFL. So
Oh yeah.
I used to go from like the hood to Bruce Smith house a couple times a year. So I always got to see something more than what I was. I didn't really know I was going to be able to acquire this and be on a level as a Hall of Famer in my sport. But knowing Bruce Smith early on played a big role in my life. It let me just see something different than what I was used to. My parents at home, the base at home was always strong for me and supporting me. When I turned pro, Dr. Pascal, man, he was a great mentor. Um, I had coaches along the way that were great mentors, but Pascal was there a lot. He was there when I was at these competitions around the world the night before when I was looking at film or I was feeling something and maybe doubting myself a little bit. The morning I woke up, I mean, I'm getting chiropractic care the night before, straight off the plane, when I wake up, when I get to the stadium, because I rode the bus, during the warm up. He's the last person I would see before I stepped onto the track. So that's how important and how much I trust chiropractic care. But back to the mentor, right? The people that was around me, like I said, my agent, my coaches, I never really had anybody that famous that I kind of looked up to. What I did do is days before and the night before my competition, I would always look at people like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Tiger Woods, Mayweather, Conor McGregor, these people in these individual sports this high intensity individual sport. And I would get little gems on just how to stay present. It's not a team sport, so it's not relying on a quarterback or anything. These sports, you have to stay present. You're going to be exposed the whole time you're actually competing. So we get a lot from interviews from the greats in individual sports.
So let me ask you, was there ever a time during your professional career that there were like 1 to 2 dudes that you're like, I'm going to beat this dude. I'm going to beat this dude. like he's going down.
Yeah, it's been a couple throughout my career. First 5 years, it was one guy who was dominating who I had to beat. The next 5 years, there was another guy who came up where he ended up being like the number one guy, and I had to figure him out to be the number one guy. So it was only maybe 3 guys throughout my whole career where we actually studied film to beat this guy. And it's a chess game. I mean, I studied film more than the norm. I probably did everything more than the norm, but also always gave myself time to rest. I understood. I was one of the athletes who understood how important rest and recovery was. I wasn't a workhorse. I worked with intention and I did the work. I worked hard, but I also rest. I took my rest. And that also was contributed to my longevity.
Talk about studying the film a little bit. I'm really interested. Like, how did you get into studying the film, and how did it give you edge?
When I was younger, my high school coach would always call me to his house to look at film of myself, film of practice, film of competitors. I remember he worked at a TV station, right? When I was in high school, he worked at a local TV station, and I would go to the school's training, then I would go to training after school, and this guy would call me at midnight sometimes to come to the TV station to watch film. Then I still went to class the next morning, but we would watch so much film that I knew what I was doing while I was doing it in motion. I saw myself do it so much. So in training, I could connect everything. I could be moving and know what I look like without seeing myself because I connect things, right? He would go to competitions and sometimes just record me around the track. I ran the 400. So one lap, it would just be a film of just me, every stride. As soon as I finished the competition, there's a warm-up area. We would leave the track, go to the warm-up area, and I'm instantly looking at film. I'm looking at myself go around this track and talking it out, and I'm connecting the mind with the body on what just went on for the next time or for training. So you get like this coach's eye. I look at myself enough. I even took it to the point where I would know the night before, I would study my competitors, what they did in their last race, what their tendencies are. Because for me, it was win this as easy as possible because I have another race in about 3 or 4 days. So I was able to visualize the race. I did a lot of mental visualization. Like just I could close my eyes and go the race in my head, stride for stride, and clock it. And I could clock similar to what I run in real life. You know, I was able to connect the body. And I think some of this stuff has something to do with the alignment of the body and being able to connect, right? I was even able to, in training sessions, I would have 5 or 6 200 meters. 200 meters, take a break, and maybe a minute break in between, 2 minutes, whatever the case may be. But I was always able to tell the coach what time I ran. I had this internal clock. I had developed this internal clock. I passed the finish line, and I could tell him exactly what time I ran. I wasn't counting in my head, but I could develop this internal clock by doing things with intention and being aware and being able to have the body and the mind connect. And it worked for me for a long time.
I think that that's just really important for anybody that watches this in the future. Just to know that the more that you study your art and you observe your own tendencies,
Right.
your own skills, the way that you do things, you can prevent injury,
Right.
you can have more longevity, you can train yourself, you can study what other people are doing, your opponents, and you can get better at your craft. Because chiropractic is a science, it's a philosophy, and it's an art. And the part that most people don't really know that are out there is chiropractic is an art. and each chiropractor performs their art a little bit different.
I agree.
So I believe that if they were to study their art a little bit and watch some tape or watch some film on themselves doing their craft, they'd probably find a lot more fun in practice, because they're the only person they're competing against, and they're training and taking care of people and doing the adjustments. Like sometimes, like a busy office will adjust 400 people a week.
Hey, I've seen it.
Yeah. So when you have a practice like that, like just imagine if you watch yourself on tape and watch your technique and watched it and studied it and saw what you're doing and seeing how you could like maybe put your hip a little bit different, or your elbow could go down a little bit different, or your hand position could be a little bit different. And then that builds that excellence into that professional, that career longevity. So watch the tape, guys, shoot the film, watch yourself working. I think it's a really good idea for people. I know we're coming up on the edge of our time. I know that you have a foundation, the Lashawn L Merritt Foundation. Talk a little bit about that and why you established it.
Well, I felt like it was important for me to be able to give hope, inspiration, resources to kids that were in the position that I was in. I lacked the resources, but I kept a great attitude. I had people pour into me, scholarship opportunities to compete against people nationwide when I didn't have the funds here in Portsmouth, Virginia, and letting them know this holistic approach that the mind, body, and spirit matters. And if I could be a person of character to give support, give hope, I'm here for it. And the Lashawn L Merritt Foundation, that's what we're targeting, to build resources and, like I said, be that person of character for the next generation, because it's important.
We need role models. We need leaders. We need people that protect the future. And
Yes,
I think that that's really great that you're doing that, and you're giving people resources and a community to plug into. Last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Chiropractic again. We're going to bring it all back full circle.
Let's do it.
Where do you see the profession going in the next 20 years?
Chiropractic care in the next 20 years, I see it being just as important as rest. I understand how important it is for the well-being of the body to maximize your potential from the mind, body, and spirit. I love it. I'm a big advocate of it. I see it being the norm for all sports, not just sports, just a way of life. I feel like it should be a way of life for overall great health.
So if I can summarize that, you think that chiropractic is great for just general recovery, just as much as sleep?
Yes. Prevention and recovery, just as much as sleep. I do. I do. I actually do. And I don't know if people will understand that, but I've needed chiropractic care before I went to sleep. And that's just from a physical standpoint. Now, I feel like everybody doesn't beat their body up as much as I did. And I'm not beating my body up right now currently because I'm retired, but I still get chiropractic care to keep my mind sharp and keep my body healthy.
Amen. So if you're a coach, if you're a player, or if you're a guy on the in the stands watching, go check out some chiropractic. Work on your body, work on your mind, work on your spirit, and plug into Lashawn Merritt, the Lashawn L Merritt Foundation, and check out what he's doing. If you guys are out there and you're looking for somebody to be a keynote at your next speaking engagement or your group, reach out to Lashawn. If people wanted to connect with you further, where can we send them to?
I have the Instagram is the Machine Merritt. I got that name through the sport because I handled it and I didn't really break down towards the end of my race. So they ended up calling me the Machine. I have the Machine Merritt on Instagram. I have the Lashawn Merritt Facebook page, and you can reach me through the foundation page also.
And that is
That's the Merritt
Lashawn
Foundation.
Merritt, Lashawn L Merritt Foundation.com. So reach out to him on Instagram, the Machine Merritt on Instagram, and check out Lashawn L Merritt Foundation.com. And his handle on Instagram is at Lashawn Merritt. Is there anything I didn't ask you today that you would like to share with our audience?
You know what? Right now, I'm also doing speed camps around the U.S., youth speed camps. I did it with my foundation. I do a couple through the foundation for kids that can't afford to pay for them. And I do some with Nike. I partner with Nike and put on speed camps. So I'm in a position where I don't really want to be a coach right now. I've been doing it all my life, but I really understand the sport. I understand the sport. I have the coach's eye, and I also have the experience, and I have the knowledge from a character standpoint that could take a kid to the next level. I mean, you can be fast as a cheetah, but if you're not coachable and you don't have what it takes between here, you're not going to get but so far.
Be that Bruce Smith.
Yeah, right. Right.
Well, Lashawn, thank you for being with us. You are episode 588 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's been a real honor to have you on as a guest.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, I look forward to the next time we connect. And I always close out by telling our audience, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.
All right, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.